All right, we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Reminding you again, please do donate to the show. It really does help us. Um, helps everyone here. It means a lot to us. We shortened the link for you guys, so hopefully that should be better. It was a mouthful before, but now it's nice. gsmcpodcast.net. It really helps us. But even so, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, anyways. And let's get back to the show. So the second segment, we're going to be talking about here now is AL players and them needing to prove themselves. So we're going to be doing this for both leagues as well, like we've been doing the past few weeks, just doing these different topics and talking about players in each team and splitting it up. These are players that I think haven't had the best past season or too few seasons and need to kind of prove themselves to keep their jobs or kind of keep getting contracts in a way. Just need to prove themselves, need to prove that they can be better. And let's talk about it. So the Yankees we're starting off with. This is a pretty hard decision personally. There was two guys I was really looking at and I was going back and forth on. In the end, I did decide for Giancarlo Stanton to be here. I believe you guys can figure out who the other one was, and it was Carlos Rodon. I chose Stanton over Rodon because Stanton only has a few years left in his contract. Yes, there's 4 years left, but that's much less than Rodon, who has 6. So, and Rodon has only played 1 year in New York. If he struggles again this year, obviously it's not ideal, but you have to give him another chance because of the contract, because of the expectations that he had when he signed here. But Stan, he's kind of struggled a few years now. There's a lot of young players coming up in that Yankees organization who could easily take his place, take his job. So I think if he doesn't get his stuff together soon, they could release him. They could DFA him. They could just cut him loose. They have history of that. They just did it with Hicks last year. Obviously, Hicks is not really in the same ballpark as Stanton with money. But at the end of the day, the Yankees might just be looking at it as, okay, it's already a lost cause. We've already given him this money. We're going to give him this money in the future. We'd rather him not be on the roster anyways. So I definitely think it's possible they could cut him if he does not perform well this year. And I definitely think he needs to prove himself. Not even go back to that Miami Giancarlo Stanton, which was so incredible in what they traded for, but just an above-average player. And I think he needs to do that for the Yankees, and I think he needs to prove himself this season. Same as Rodon, but I thought Stanton was more a pressing need for him and his career and the team as well. The Orioles, this is a hard decision because there's a lot of good young players who don't really need to prove themselves because they're young. They haven't been in the league that long. But for me, the one guy I do think about is John Means. John Means was a very good pitcher for the Orioles before he got Tommy John, threw a no-hitter for them, was kind of one of the building blocks of that young Orioles team. But then, like I said, he did get Tommy John. He was out for a year or so. He came back this year, was okay, but I think he needs to put together a very good full season now with the Orioles, who are obviously trying to win. They need good pitchers, especially after the Kyle Bradish injury, where we don't know how long he's going to be out. He needs to put together a good season, and I think his career depends on it. If he kind of doesn't do well and kind of wets the bed a little bit, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes from there. They'll probably non-tender him, or he'll even leave as free agent. I'm not sure what his contractual situation is, but I definitely think he's under some pressure and needs to perform. The Red Sox, this was the same as the Yankees in the way that I didn't really know who to pick because there was two obvious choices. The first obvious choice is Trevor Story. That's who I ended up going with, actually. Obviously signed a... Sorry about that. I don't know why I keep yawning. Signed a huge contract with the Red Sox a few years ago. Has just not performed very well. He's performed fine, but nothing to where the standard of him was to be in Boston. There's a big shortstop class for free agents, and not really many of them have performed. Lindor has performed, but he was a free agent. He wasn't a free agent. Seager has performed, but that's kind of it. Baez hasn't. Correa's been okay, but needs to be better. So, definitely need to see Story being better and to live to his contract. I also had Lucas Giolito here, of course, as he definitely needs to prove himself after the lackluster seasons he's had. But at the same time, I thought Story was more pressing because of the contract situation. And I think even if Giolito struggles this year, someone will still take a chance on him next year just because of the pure raw talent he has. So, but it's definitely a toss-up between them two. Not really a good toss-up to have, but, it does exist. So I think that's something to watch here. The Blue Jays, I mean, we all know what the answer is. It's so obvious. It's Alek Manoah. I mean, Alek Manoah, he definitely needs to prove himself. Had a great first 2 years in the big leagues. Showed to be a rising star in the league. Big part of that Blue Jays future in that young core. And then last year, he was probably the worst pitcher in baseball. He was just horrific. Like, just awful. There's a lot of reasons as to why that might have happened. Personally, my belief is that, him not being the best athlete, he is a bigger guy. With the pitch clock changes, his arm might have got fatigued because he didn't have as much time to take a breather after pitches. But I don't think we'll ever know. He got sent down to the developmental league to kind of develop more. He got sent down to AAA, did not pitch well there, did not have a good start to the spring already. So he definitely needs to prove himself, and if he doesn't, I think that might be the end for him, both in Toronto and maybe even Major League Baseball. That might be taking it to an extreme, but I don't really know if he does struggle again. So definitely someone who needs to prove himself and play up to the expectations he is accustomed to in Alek Manoah. Tampa, the last one. Again, this was hard because they have a lot of good young players or players that have proved themselves. But I went with the recently signed Amed Rosario. Obviously, Rosario is one of the top prospects in baseball with the Mets. Never really lived up to that hype. Was a very good player for the Mets, but was never the top prospect that Mets fans thought he would be. Now signing with the Rays, he's going to get an abundance of at-bats against lefties, but he definitely needs to prove himself and prove that he can still be an MLB caliber player. Got traded, wasn't great with the Guardians after being traded there in the big Lindor trade. Wasn't great with the Dodgers after being traded from the Guardians there last deadline. So I think he needs to prove himself and prove to people that he is a major league caliber player and that he is a starting caliber player who has a future in this league. Next, we going to the AL Central now, sorry. First, for the Guardians, we're going to be having Ramon Laureano. Laureano was a very good player for the A's for a few years. Kind of was one of the bright spots in that A's team. No one else really was as good as he was for those past few years after they traded everyone in that offseason purge with Bassett, Olsen, Sean Murphy, guys like that being gone. So, he stuck. He stayed there, but he got DFA'd this year. He did not perform very well. He had a PED suspension the year before, so that didn't really help his cause as well. He definitely needs to prove himself. He wasn't great with the Guardians after they picked him off from waivers, but he's going to get a spot on the Major League team to start the year. And I definitely think if he wants to stay the course of being a Major Leaguer, he has to prove that he can do it without steroids. He has to prove that he can be a very good player again and be a starter for this Guardians team that doesn't really have a lot of competition other than him. So if he does not win a starting spot, I think it would be fairly embarrassing for him. So next, we have the White Sox. For me, it's going to be Michael Soroka. Soroka was a young rising star with Atlanta. Was a Rookie of the Year runner-up with them. Was looking to be a part of that organization for a long time. It did not work out there after the first year. He just had a bunch of freak injuries. Did not pitch for even a few years after that. Got traded in the Aaron Bummer trade to Chicago and is looking to have a career reset. The White Sox are not very good. We know this. Not saying anything too crazy here. But if he can secure a starting spot with the White Sox, which I think he definitely should, rebound, show he was the Michael Soroka of before that was with the Braves, that would definitely be very important to him, his career, and the White Sox. And I definitely think he needs to prove himself, kind of a last chance in a way. His career's not his fault so far, really. He's just had a lot of freak injuries, but that's the way baseball goes. That's the way sports goes. You can't really complain to anyone except yourself and the circumstances that unfortunately have happened to you. So. Next, we have the Tigers, kind of in the same boat as Soroka, a pitcher who was once very good, needs to prove himself now. Was a very good pitcher with the Cardinals for a long time. Dealt with some injury risk at the end of his tenure there, and was kind of regressed a little bit. Got traded to Baltimore to not really help his cause. Was just not that good. He signed a big contract, not a big contract, a big AAV with the Tigers, 1 year, $13 million in the offseason, trying to prove himself with the Tigers, show people that he still has the flaherty with St. Louis in him somewhere. And I think this is one of the last chances for him to show he's a major league caliber pitcher, show he's the guy who can be a big part of the MLB team's future. And kind of show who he is and why the Tigers signed him to this big contract, even after having a few years of mediocrity. The Royals, not many choice for this one, but I did go with Adam Frazier. It was a big trade chip with the Pirates a few years ago at the deadline. Sorry for moving around. I'm going to continue to talk, though. Got traded to the Padres, was not very good there at all. Got traded to the Mariners from the Padres then after that, was not good with the Mariners. Signed with the Orioles, was not very good with them, and at some point it's been 2.5 years since he was a good MLB player. So I think he needs to use this year with the Royals, probably going to be their starting second baseman, to show why he was a very desired trade piece at the deadline, show why he still has a good player in him, show how he still has a good player in him, and just still be a good player in general. So for his sake, let's hope he can bounce back and be the Adam Frazier with Pittsburgh that he was. Finally, for the Twins, I was between their two stars with this one, Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton. But I thought with Correa proving himself kind of so at the end of last year with his performance, I kind of put Buxton over him. Buxton's still a very good player, don't get me wrong. Great hitter, great speedster, but he just has so many injury risks. Has not played center field in a good amount of time. He's going to be playing center field this year. He needs to prove to the fan base of the Twins that is very devoted, one of the most underrated fan bases in baseball, in my opinion. He needs to prove them that he is their first overall pick, the guy they chose to be the center fielder of the future. And, he's probably going to get hurt again, but they're hoping it's for a little bit amount of time because he always gets hurt. That's just who he is. I don't know what it is, but that's just always happens. So if you're a Twins fan, just hope that he can man center field for you very well, and hoping that he can be the Byron Buxton of old and continue to keep going with his career and who he is. So, finally, we're going to move to the AL West here. We're going to first be talking about the Astros and the player I think that needs to prove himself. And for me, that is going to be Justin Verlander. You may be asking yourself, why does Justin Verlander, of all people, need to prove himself? But, he's had some injury risks now with both his teams, the Mets and the Astros. Mets had injury risk, did not perform very well. He performed better towards the end, which is why the Mets ended up getting a top prospect for him. But he's injured already with the Astros after coming back. And I think he definitely needs to show the fan base that he is the Justin Verlander of old, and why they traded two very good prospects for him to get him back there and be a really good player. The Angels, this one's obvious. It's Anthony Rendon. He's the worst contract in baseball. Not much else to say here. He needs to prove himself, show why he's not the worst contract in baseball. Doesn't seem like he really cares that much, but I think for Angels fans' sake, he definitely needs to show more care in the game and show why he did get the contract that he got. So, Oakland. Not many people to pick here because they are such a young, mediocre team, but I would probably go Ross Stripling. He got traded from the Giants for a reason. Didn't have a great season last year. Dealt with some injuries as well. Getting traded to the A's is never a good sign for your career. So I think he needs to prove himself, show he's still a good starting pitcher in this league. And, the A's don't have a lot of expectations on him. So going to this team with no expectations, proving yourself again, showing why you are the Ross Stripling of old. And I think he needs to do that, and I think he will. And I think he definitely needs to prove himself for the upcoming year. The Mariners, I think for me it's Ty France. Was looking like the first baseman of the future for the Mariners. Was a great bat a few years ago. But after that has kind of struggled. Has not really put up the numbers you would like for a first baseman. And kind of just has regressed a little bit. So if I'm a Mariners fan, I'm hoping he can rebound, prove why he is Ty France, that was part of the Mariners core, and is helping that Mariners team at first base. And if he doesn't perform well this year, even by the deadline, I think they'll be actively looking for upgrades. So definitely needs to prove himself. And finally, we're ending it off with a player I mentioned before from the world champion Texas Rangers, Jacob deGrom. This one's self-explanatory. He just was out basically the entire year. He's coming back the middle of the year, and from Tommy John. We don't know when he's going to be back, but I think he needs to attack this rehab. Try to pitch to his best ability this year, how many starts it is. So the Rangers, why they gave him a 5-year contract, even with the risks that he did have. So I think he definitely needs to prove himself, prove that he can be the Jacob deGrom of old, even with injury risk. Just overcome those and just be better. So, that's segment 2. We're going to go to segment 3, which is the same thing, but for NL players. Before we go to that, we are going to take a break, but I wanted to preview it a little bit. So, we're going to take a break, but then we'll talk about that. So, see you after that. Thanks. Bye.